chair of this committee and will be sitting in for our chairperson, Councilmember Jose Huizar. We are joined by members Bob Blumenfeld of the 3rd Council District, Mr. Mitch Englander, the 12th Council District, and Mr. Kern Price of the 9th Council District. We begin our meeting with those of you who have submitted multiple comment cards. Those of you who submitted multiple comment cards will give you 2 minutes to speak on any of the items of your choice that you have filed cards for, and an additional minute to make general public comment. Your general public comment cannot be on any of the matters that are on today's agenda, and all of your comments must pertain to issues in the purview of the committee in which you are sitting. So we will begin that process. We have one person with multiple comment cards, and that is Ms. Patricia McAllister. Signed up to speak on 1, 2, and 8.
And a public comment.
And you have 2 minutes to divide between 1, 2, and 8, and you have 1 minute for general public comment.
Okay, now let's talk about number 1. The Director of Planning has an oral status on ongoing development. I'd like to know what plans you have for building affordable housing. I'm looking at this agenda here, and I don't see anything about affordable housing. I see you want to build some liquor stores in Skid Row, and we don't need that. And I'd like to know, I know the city has this planning committee, land and use committee has the plans for the city for the next 50 years. I know that. And I want to know what that plan is. Definitely, you don't have affordable housing on it. Now, here I see you've got here where you want to convert 4,600 square foot manufacturing warehouse into 66 guest rooms, boutique, hotel, restaurant, bars, lounges on Alameda. That's right off Skid Row, 4th and Skid Row. And you want 3 blocks of this mess. That's Skid Row. You should be building affordable housing on Skid Row. You've got thousands of homeless people. It has just been announced that Los Angeles is the meanest city in the nation when it comes to homelessness. It's all over the web. That's why I read it the other day. The meanest city. We don't know what you're doing with the money, but it's not going where it should be going. I disagree with this. Item 3 is the same. You're just asking for more time here. And then number 8, here you want to allow a health club and a gym right over here on North 9th and Western. I know where that is. We need some affordable housing. We need it off. We need black people off Skid Row. I want my people off of Skid Row. We need to build some affordable housing. And this committee, Planning and Land Use, I know about the planning department. I went to the planning department in Chicago and asked them why they were demolishing beautiful homes. And they told me, the lady told me, she said, you don't know what's going on? I said, no. She said, we plan to move the blacks out into the suburbs, move the whites in, cut transportation in the suburbs so blacks can't get back to the city. Well, it didn't happen, and that's when they started killing them when I left around 2003. Blacks were not moving out. So I know the planning department knows what's going on. The planning department has no affordable housing. I want to request that the Trump administration, we want a federal investigation, financial investigation of Los Angeles. The mayor a couple of years ago said he spent $100 million on homelessness. And when he was asked what he spent the $100 million on, he said the police. So we know it's a joke. And every day, I don't know which freeway you're jumping on when you leave here, but every day I have to drive by these people in these tents, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And the planning department is responsible for this. The planning department is the department that determines what's going on. You're not building any affordable housing. And I go to this committee meetings, all you're doing is shifting money into trust funds, shifting money, and it eventually goes into your pockets.
Thank you. That exhausts our multiple item and public comment speakers. We will begin our meeting with our consent calendar, in which we have item number 5. And I think we can hear 5 and 6 together, but we have an applicant, Adam Goldberg, on number 6. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. And if you don't want to speak, we can forego that, and we'll take this item on consent. Seeing no one coming forward, we will take 5 and 6 on consent. That'll be the order. Hearing no objection, and we'll move to item number 1. Mr. Keller.
Good afternoon, committee members. Kevin Keller, Executive Officer, City Planning, just with a brief director's report today. I thought we'd take a minute today to highlight a new appointment service the department is now offering at our development service centers, part of our ongoing efforts to improve our development service experience and implement some of the development reform items the department's been working on. Last May, the committee is aware that we opened our West LA public counter, bringing the total of City Planning's public counters to 3. We serve over 100,000 customers a year in these 3 counters. And we've had a general online appointment service for general appointments, but as of this month, the department has now also started offering development service appointments specifically for housing reviews, wireless telecom application intake, and parcel and tract map processing. So we're really pleased to be expanding our online services to really maximize and streamline our customer service. The department this week concluded a round of planning assistant new hires. We're very excited to be bringing some new planners on over the next 3 weeks in both of our downtown and Valley offices. These staff will improve our entitlement processing timelines and services, and also expand our Valley Policy Planning Division in lines with this year's budget the council adopted. So thank you for that report. I'm available for any questions.
Yes, sir. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the report. Where are the other 2 centers?
The development service centers?
Yes.
We have our Metro Development Service Center in the Figueroa building with DBS over on Figueroa and First. We have the Valley Development Service Center in the Marvin Browdy constituent building. And then last year, we only had 2. We opened up the West LA Service Center. I know we have ongoing discussions about possibly opening up in a future budget year a 4th center, possibly in South LA, but that is not funded at the moment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move to accept the report from the Department of Planning. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. This moves us to item number 2, and if we could read items number 2 and 3 into the record and consider those together.
Item 2, Councilman, this is a report from the Planning Commission. It's a general plan amendment and a zone change. There's an appeal associated with the action and the various land use entitlements. Item 3 is the appeal on the tract map. The 2 items are interrelated. I believe the appeals have been withdrawn, but out of advice, if there's anyone from the public who would like to speak, they should be allowed to speak.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Jordan Turner, Department of City Planning staff. Actually, just wanted to echo what the CLA staff mentioned. There were 2 appeals, one for the tract and one for the related entitlement cases for the development of a 66-room hotel in the Arts District. Kind of just to make it short, staff does recommend denial of the appeal in light of the withdrawal of the appeal by the appellant. And we're here for any questions regarding any aspect of the project you may have.
Excellent. There are questions from members of the committee. If not, I believe we have testimony from at least the applicant and the appellant. And so we'll begin with Natalie Schumann, the appellant. You have 5 minutes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief. I'm Natalie Schumann. I was the appellant on the case. I had some issues with the project, but after further review of the record and learning more about the environmental and community benefits, I've officially withdrawn my appeal. I feel confident now that this project will be great for the community and we'll be happy to see it go through. I urge the committee to deny my appeal. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Applicant?
Good afternoon, committee members. Alfred Fryhope, counsel for the applicant. I want to echo the report from staff and respectfully request that the appeal be denied and the matter be moved forward to council for full action with approval. I simply want to also thank staff, both planning department and council member staff, for making this 2-year process somewhat easier. We're very happy about its final resolution and look forward to it being approved by council. Thank you very much.
Thank you all both so much. We'll move to deny the appeal and approve this project. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, and also to adopt the mitigative negative deck, the mitigation measures, the mitigation monitoring program, and the CEQA findings.
Excellent. We will move the same.
And the underlying action of of the City Planning Commission.
We will move the same. It's been seconded. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. This takes us to item number 4.
Item 4, Councilman, just out of clarity, your actions were for 2 and 3, Councilman.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Item 4, Councilman, this is a City Planning Commission. It's a draft ordinance for a vesting zone change for a mixed commercial building located in CD4, Council.
Yes.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Mary Ann King, project planner with the Valley Planning Division. Before you is a request for a vesting zone change from the P zone and C2 zone to a temporary TQ C2-1BL zone and a 15-foot building line removal along Moore Park Street and adoption of the mitigated negative declaration 2016-3925. The site is located in the community of Sherman Oaks and within the Ventura-Cahuenga specific plan. It's at the northeast corner of Ventura Boulevard and Tyrone Avenue and bound by Moore Park Street to the north. The site is 1.8 acres, comprised of 8 lots that was recently approved to be merged together as one lot under a vesting tentative tract. The site is mostly vacant, was previously used for auto-related uses, hot dog stand, a retail store, and surface parking. The project is a 2-story, approximately 74,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial building with a podium-style, approximately 44,000 square foot Whole Foods grocery store, an outdoor patio on the upper level, and at grade level is an associated 4,900 square foot restaurant, a smaller patio area, 20,000 square feet of multi-tenant retail space, and 4,200 square feet of office space. There are 2 levels of subterranean parking that will provide 325 parking spaces and 75 bike spaces. And there's also some surface parking on the site. And at the rear is a truck loading and delivery area that will be accessed from Moore Park Street. The proposed building is a modern design and includes a prominent curved cantilevered upper patio that mimics the shape of the corner. The building height will be mostly 32 feet with a building step back of 10 feet as required per the specific plan, and a gradual height increase of 39 feet at the rear due to the slope of the topography, downslope. Project also includes a 3,000 square foot Moore Park along 3,000 square foot dog park along Moore Park Street. The project will include significant street improvements along all 3 streets, Ventura, Tyrone, and Moore Park Street, including improving pedestrian access to the site from Moore Park and the planting of approximately 31 new street trees. The project has been substantially revised after multiple meetings with the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association and the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. All major items of concern have been addressed, such as potential noise impact from the loading area and from the second-level patio, as well as originally requested 24-hour operation for the grocery store. The applicant had agreed to reducing the public hours of operation for the grocery store from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., with only non-public activities from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The site is a commercial corner with multifamily buildings northwest and northeast of the Moore Park Street. The project was well received by the City Planning Commission. The commission made a few changes, such as requiring 35% solar installation on the rooftop and more EV charged and EV-ready vehicle spaces. They also liked the dog park. At the City Planning Commission, the applicant had requested that the restaurant be open from 6 a.m. So they can serve coffee. The City Planning Commission felt that the limit on the public hours of operation for the grocery store was too restrictive, and that there was also another grocery store in the area that operates 24 hours. They granted customer hours from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. and remaining hours for non-public operation be 24-hour, and restaurant hours from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. That is reflected in condition number 24 under the commercial corner conditional use conditions. My understanding is the council office would like to speak more in regards to the hours of operation for the grocery store. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Excellent, thank you. If there are no questions from members of the committee. We have a few public comment speakers on this item, including the applicant. So I'll just call them up. Ed Casey.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. At Casey, counsel for the applicant. Today, my primary role is to thank a lot of people because it took a lot of effort to bring a project with this much support. So let me start off by thanking first the council office, planning staff for the usual great job, as well as the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association and the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. They worked very hard to fashion this project. And after further working with the council office as well as the Home Association, we would like to request a change to condition 24A, which would be to reduce the hours of operation for the grocery store, the customer hours, so that the hours would change from 6 a.m. to closing at 2 a.m. That would change to opening at 6 a.m. to closing at midnight. So a reduction of 2 hours in those store operations after further consulting with the council office and the Home Association. So with that, we would urge you to approve our project.
Thank you so much. Mr. Bob Anderson, Mr. Marshall Long, you all have 1 minute each.
Thank you, Plum members. Bob Anderson, Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, the largest such organization in Los Angeles. Since the inception of the Whole Foods project, SOHA has worked with the applicant, Council District 4, Department of City Planning, and Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council Plum Committee to highlight community concerns and develop solutions for safety, traffic, noise, pedestrian, opening hours, and other challenges. The applicant built upon our solutions for better traffic management at the Tyrone Moore Park intersection, leading to the current configuration, which is safer for pedestrians and drivers. We also worked to prohibit left turns at the project's exits. We raised strong community concerns that Amazon's recent Whole Food purchase could lead to a future delivery hub, working to ensure that these concerns were addressed in the conditional use permit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now Marshall Long will finish our statement.
Marshall Long, I'm with SOHA, the land use chair. We work closely, as Bob said, with the applicant on critical details of sound absorption, lid for the truck loading dock, and to attenuate noise from truck refrigeration units at the nearby residences during midnight or during late night unloading activities. The final design effectively incorporates our recommended designs. SOHA documented its concerns, solutions, and recommendations in detailed letters that were submitted to the applicant, CD4 office, and planning department. We have a good working relationship with the applicant's representatives and have met with them multiple times. We work closely with CD4's Julia Duncan to ensure that our concerns resulted in specific mitigation conditions of approval for the project. Thus, SOHA supports the Whole Foods project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Julia Duncan from Council District 4.
Good afternoon, Julia Duncan, Councilmember David Rue's office. We're incredibly excited to have the applicant here today and to get to this stage of the process. The applicants worked very hard with the various neighborhood and community groups to come up with a project that we believe will activate Ventura Boulevard, improve a neglected and unsightly alleyway, provide street, pedestrian, and traffic improvements, and provide services at a currently vacant lot at a prime intersection in Sherman Oaks. We would like to reiterate the applicant's request for an amendment on pages C5 and C6 of the determination letter. We would like to amend the conditional use commercial corner condition as follows. Customer hours shall be from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. daily in lieu of the letter of determination, which states 2 a.m.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There are no questions or comments from committee members. I'll move that we approve this with the amendment put forward by Council District 4 on the change of hours. If there's a second.
Second.
It's been seconded. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. That takes us to item number 7.
Yes, Councilman. Item 7 is an appeal by Susanna Kearney Flaster. She's appealing the conditional use for a major development project, which will construct a 200 square foot office building in CD11.
Excellent.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Jenna Monterosa with Planning. This is my supervisor, Nick Hendricks, Senior City Planner. As stated before you is an appeal of a City Planning Commission action. The proposed project involves a demolition of a 23,000 square foot office building and the construction of a new 200,000 square foot creative office building in the Delray neighborhood. This is the project that has notably been designed by Frank Gehry Partners. The city discretion that was involved with the approval involved a conditional use for a major development project as well as site plan review. The project does not and did not seek any deviations from our zoning code. So the conditional use and site plan review were approved. Along with that approval, a mitigated negative declaration was adopted for the project. A thorough and full analysis, a CEQA analysis was completed. Traffic study was completed, air quality analysis, noise analysis, etc. The project was found to have impacts that would be mitigated to less than significant levels. And so that was adopted as part of City Planning Commission's action. Most notably, the project, as stated, will construct a 200,000 square foot creative office building. It would also include just a couple of things I want to know. Over 95,000 square feet of open space, 3,300 square feet of installed solar panels, 82 parking spaces that will be installed with electric vehicle charging stations, an additional 118 spaces for future installment of electric vehicle parking spaces. An appeal was filed by a neighboring property owner. A response to that appeal was included in the council file the end of last year. In addition to that, and so we maintain that all the appeal points have been responded to. In addition to that, the applicant has provided a response to all appeal points, and we're in agreement with those as well. Planning Department maintains that the City Planning Commission did not err or abuse their discretion in approving the project. We recommend that the appeals be denied. And in addition, two things I want to note. Planning did also submit a letter to concur with applicant submitted response to correct a finding that was made in the planning's initial approval of the project. There was some project design that occurred in between the planning's recommendation and city planning's action. And so the recommended correction just notes that the corrected height of the building will be 135 feet. In addition, we recommend at this time that findings 3 and 7 in your action be included to state that that the project has been found to be consistent with the city's general plan and applicable community plan upon the completion of a lot line adjustment that has been conditioned in the project's approval. In order to move forward with the development, the project will be required to record covenants, ensuring that the performance of the condition specifically identified as condition number 18 be completed prior to the construction of the project. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Excellent. Questions or comments, members? Hearing none, we will first hear from our appellant, Christina Kropp, for 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, council members. Christina Kropp of Luna and Glushon here on behalf of appellants Kearney Management Company. The council should have received our letter outlining the many objections and problems, both practically and legally, posed by this project. But before I highlight a couple of them, I want to make a note about the process of this review. As some of you may remember, I was here before you on the 8150 Sunset Project, also a Frank Gehry project, about a year ago, trying to explain, along with many others, why the city's actions were illegal. I remember very vividly that at that time, the response from this city council was that just calling something illegal does not make it illegal, and that in their opinions, their vote in support of that project was, and I quote, brave. Well, the city council's vote was very much illegal, and the court determined it to be so. As I stand here today, I see nothing brave about a city council that approves illegal development. I see nothing brave about a city council that rubber stamps staff's approvals of projects and provides a hearing simply to abide by the requirements of the municipal code. I'm not here today to chide the city council. All I'm trying to point out is that this body, an independent body, needs to take a serious look at the many issues that we have raised in our correspondence, especially on the CEQA grounds. It absolutely cannot be contested that a fair argument has been made that the proposed project may have a significant effect on the environment. The standard of review is in our favor. The fair argument standard is a low threshold test, and public controversy concerning environmental effect of a project indicates that preparation of an EIR is necessary. So it doesn't matter that the applicant has submitted to you responses claiming that they believe the MND is adequate. It doesn't matter at all. If one expert says that environmental review is adequate and another expert says that it is not, you must require an EIR. It's the law. So to the extent that the City Council today votes to uphold the MND prepared by staff, it is again approving illegal development. But you don't even have to look at CEQA to see that this project is illegal and inappropriate in this particular location. Being situated directly across the street from residential apartments, this project is subject to a 45-foot height limit under the commercial corner provisions of the municipal code. But the project is 135 feet, 155 feet if you include the two-story mechanical room on top of that building. You have staff and the applicant telling you, that's okay, we're going to get a lot line adjustment. We're just going to fix this problem. But it hasn't been fixed. The applicant submitted the lot line adjustment on February 1st, basically a year ago. To date, no lot line adjustment has been approved. Therefore, today, which is the day that the City Council is going to act on this project, it cannot approve a height of over 45 feet. Indeed, there's probably a very good reason that the city has not approved the lot line adjustment. And again, I believe it is because it is illegal under state law. The Subdivision Map Act limits lot line adjustments to those existing between 4 or fewer existing adjoining lots. Here, the applicant's request is to adjust the line between 5 contiguous lots. So basically, the applicant can't even get a lot line adjustment. No matter how you slice it, this lot, this corner lot, is not appropriate for this project. It's appropriate for something 45 feet or under, and that's not before you today. For all of the reasons set forth in our correspondence, which I truly hope you at least take a look at, we ask that the City Council grant our appeal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have the applicant, Claire Branowski.
Good afternoon. My name is Claire Branowski from the Glazer-Weil firm, representing the applicant. I just introduced the project and our team and also answer some of the appeal issues tonight. First, I'd like to thank staff. This has been a very complicated project. We've been through the CPC. We're in agreement with all the recommended changes that CPC made and the staff recommendation, including the technical corrections we requested. As mentioned, this project brings you world-class architecture in a transformative area adjacent to Playa Vista. It is 100% consistent with the zoning. It requires no variances, deviations, or exceptions. Before you was just an appeal of a conditional use permit and a site plan review. The project is built as a campus and has a range of heights from 25 feet to a high of 135 feet. It will retain an existing one-story Geary Partners Studios office as part of the campus. We've been involved in a long process of community outreach. We have the full approval of the Delray Neighborhood Council. We've been in a 2-year process where many changes were made to the project to accommodate neighbors and stakeholders. The appeal you have before you is from an adjacent commercial neighbor. We've met with them over 7 times. We delayed this hearing since October to try and accommodate issues, but we are here today to say that the city has done its job, fully vetted the project, and we accept all the conditions. The lot line adjustment is a condition of approval. We won't be able to move forward without it. There's nothing standing in our way other than financing documents to complete that process. So I just want to introduce that we have Tensho Takamori from Geary Partners today to answer questions, and the applicant and our traffic engineer if you have any further questions. We urge you to deny the appeal and support the project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have two public comment speakers for 1 minute each, Eva Moran and Michael McCroskey.
Hello. Thanks for hearing us today. I'm here to support the Beatrice project. Not only will it bring an architectural gem to Playa Vista, but it'll also add much-needed creative office to the supply. Also, it'll bring the type of companies that are creating world-class innovation and high-paying jobs. So we encourage you to support. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Mike McCroskey. I'm with the commercial real estate firm of Jones Lang LaSalle. I spend a great deal of my time in this marketplace. I'm here to support the Beatrice project. I'm excited to see this beautiful creative office project that is planned for the site. This is one of the most prime areas for creative office tenants in the city of Los Angeles. It's creating jobs, it's creating opportunities, and it sits in the intersection of a major residential hub that supports the project. This is a Frank Gehry design, the same gentleman that designed our beautiful Disney concert hall, and the community will be so proud and appreciative of a project like this. This project will help attract more jobs and businesses to come to the Playa Vista adjacent neighborhood. Parking is critical for the success of this project or any commercial project in Playa Vista. Their parking plan gets parking off the street and into their structure, which I think is so important.
Thank you.
I hope you'll approve the project.
Thank you.
Council members, Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. I just wanted to address the comment made about the 8150 Frank Gehry project litigation. There were many challenges to that project. The city prevailed on all of those except for two related to alternatives. That case is up on appeal. So I just wanted to let you know. I'm not sure what that case has to do with this case, but that's the status of where that litigation is.
All right, we have from CD11, Krista Klein. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. For the record, I'm Krista Klein, Planning Director in Councilmember Mike Bonin's office. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We thank the community, the applicants, and the neighbors for all their hard work and continued attention to this project. This is a significant project for the area and has warranted the time and attention it has received. We understand there's concerns raised by some of the neighboring property owners, some of the business owners, and one of our locally engaged community groups. However, the local neighborhood council has weighed in on this issue and is supporting the project, and therefore we continue to support that position. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions, comments from members? Mr. Blumenfeld?
If you could just address the issue that was raised about the 45-foot limit. I think I understand the answer, but I just want to clarify.
Hi, Nick Hendricks, Senior City Planner. So the 45-foot height limitation is entirely associated with the commercial corner standards. The property consists of several lots. One of those lots is a lot where a lot line adjustment is being pursued to increase the area. Lot line adjustments are excluded from the MAP Act as long as you're not creating a lot that is inconsistent with the zone or is creating a new lot. So in this particular case, we condition the project so it cannot move forward with construction until they demonstrate the performance standard of that condition. So they can't receive a building permit, they can't move forward with this project until they demonstrate and provide us evidence and proof that the lot line adjustment is completed. Building and Safety is currently dealing with that particular application as we speak, and we expect that we'll have some resolution in the next couple of months.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blumenfeld. Hearing no other questions or comments, so we'll move to deny the appeal. There's a second. Second, hearing no objection, that'll be the order.
Councilman, I think
Yes,
there
sir.
was also a request to make modifications to findings 3 and 7, and condition number 18. So if you could incorporate those as well in your action. And also, we need to adopt the mitigation negative deck, the mitigation measures, the mitigation monitoring program, and the CEQA findings.
All right, so let's take it from the top. Can we do all those together, or do we have to do them separately?
Yes, we can do them all together, Council.
Okay, so we'll put forward such a motion as to incorporate the changes that you just outlined. It's been seconded. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item number 8.
Item 8, Councilman, this is an appeal filed by Mr. George Abrams. He's appealing the underlying action of the zoning administrator, approval of a variance, a use variance for a health club in the RAS 3 zone in CD 13.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Plum Committee members. My name is Henry Chu, Associate Zoning Administrator for the Planning Department. Item number 8, as stated, is an appeal of the determination by the Central Area Planning Commission, which was issued on October 18, 2017, and they denied an appeal filed for the zoning administrator's determination and sustained the decision of the zoning administrator. Briefly, the determination granted 2 variances. One was to permit a use of a gym fitness that would permit 6,875 square feet of on the ground floor of a mixed-use building in the Q RAS 3-1 zone. And the second variance was a grant that permitted up to 60 square feet of signage in lieu of the 20 square feet per unit permitted in the RAS 3 zone. At the October 2017 Central APC meeting, the commissioner determined that the findings could be made, and the ZA did not err in the determination and thus sustained the decision. The appellant has filed an appeal on that determination, and it can be summarized as follows. 1, the project should seek a zone change because there is a Q condition on the site zoning. 2, there is no evidence shown that the project isn't viable without the variances. And 3, the rigorous findings required for a variance cannot be made. Just to give you some background information, the site is zoned Q RAS 3-1 VL, and the zone change was effective on October 25th, 2005. The building right now is fully developed and occupied. The project was approved as a mixed-use project with 49 dwelling units, with units conditioned to be set aside for low or very low units. And there were also 3 commercial condominiums. So this also addresses the first speaker who claimed that item number 8 didn't have any affordable housing. Now, in response to the appeal, prior to filing, the applicant was advised by planning that a zone variance was appropriate despite there being a Q condition. The use regulation of the zone change ordinance did not further restrict any specific uses from the RAS 3 zone, so it was no different from the use section of the RAS 3 zone found in LAMC section 12.10.5. Many zone changes to the RAS zones included the same language, and where the RAS 3 use was not further restricted in the Q condition of the respective ordinances. And as such, the use variance was appropriate to request deviation from the use list of the RAS 3 zone. Also, because there was another case similar to the project, the applicant was advised that a variance for the use was appropriate. And we can also have the applicant expand further on their advisement meetings with the planning staff. And as for the variance and findings, the site is located along Western Avenue, generally between Melrose and Sunset, in an area of Hollywood that is in need of revitalization and open space. Many of the buildings were developed before the open space requirements of the code, and thus there's a lack of recreation and open space amenities. Buildings along this part of Western have C4 uses with land designated neighborhood office commercial, and many uses along this major commercial thoroughfare are neighborhood serving and include retail, restaurant, and offices. The site is the only property in the immediate area that is zoned Q RAS 3-1 VL, and the reason why the project was granted a zone change in this area was because the RAS 3 zone promotes housing opportunities, it enhances neighborhoods, and revitalizes older commercial corridors, which is what this part of Western Avenue is. And the intent was not to prohibit neighborhood-serving uses, which this proposed approximately 6,800 square foot gym is. The project, the gym use is not permitted in the RAS 3 zone, nor is it permitted in the C4 zone. We need to be clear about that. And in December of 2005, after this project was approved, the City Council adopted a use list that removed the gymnasium use as part of the C4 zone. Thus, the hardship for the request is not self-imposed. The code did not anticipate the multitude of different forms of fitness uses that had evolved over time. The prohibition of neighborhood-serving fitness uses on a commercial thoroughfare was not the intent of the zone change, nor the intent of the exclusion of the zoning code. It should be noted that there is a precedent of a zone variance granted in the same Hollywood Community Plan area, and the address is 7950 Sunset Boulevard under case ZA 2014-3985ZV, and this permitted a 2,648 square foot gym known as Orange Theory Fitness in the QRAS 4-1 zone, which was approved in February of 2015. And though it is zone QRAS 4, and this project that's before you is QRAS 3, the zones serve as the same purpose in promoting housing opportunities, and enhancing neighborhoods, and revitalizing older commercial corridors. As for signage, the project has requested 60 square feet of signage, where regulations of the RAS 3 zone only permit 20 square feet per tenant space. And at the time of the approval of the related tract map and zone change, the project anticipated 3 commercial tenants for the ground floor, which would have allowed 60 square feet. The applicant seeks to make the use of the space to identify the tenant and has submitted an exhibit showing that they would be proposing that amount, and it would be to scale with other developments surrounding the subject site. As for the environmental issues raised by the appellant, the project qualifies for a Class 1 Category 1 categorical exemption, which was issued under ENV 2016-4692-CE, since the project is within an existing building, and the project was issued conditions of approval and not mitigation measures that are of CEQA. The conditions referred to are in conditions number 9, 10, and 12, which I won't read unless requested by the Plum Committee members. And these are, again, identified as conditions of approval and not mitigation measures. There was no evidence showing that there would be any significant impacts from the project within the existing building. Staff recommends the appeal be denied and the decision of the Area Planning Commission be sustained, and staff is available for any questions.
Questions or comments, members? Hearing none, we'll ask our appellant, of which we have 2. We can divide 5 minutes between the 2 of you. One of them is George Abrams, and the other one is Michael Kohanzad.
Mr. Kohanza is the applicant, Council.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kohanzad. So you're on your own, 5 minutes.
First off, I want to clarify before the time starts. My name is Doug Haynes. I'm with La Mirada Neighborhood Association, and it's a joint appeal with Safe Hollywood and La Mirada.
So I don't have you as an appellant.
It's within the text of the appeal.
I don't have a card from you as an appellant. I have Mr. Abrams.
No, we can only fill out so much on the kiosk. So what else am I supposed to fill out?
City Attorney, is there ask for your guidance on this matter?
I would just have him fill out a card, and I think it was supposed to be a joint appeal.
Yes, it's
so
a joint appeal. So I'll speak for the 5 minutes, and then George for Safe Hollywood speak for his 1 minute.
Why, if there are 2 appellants, you all can divide the 5 minutes?
Well, no, he's speaking individually, and I'm speaking on behalf of the appeal.
Well, the problem is he's down as the appellant. Okay.
Well, then you should fill out a card and submit it.
George would have his 1 minute, though. He should not be denied his opportunity to speak.
All right. Let's roll.
Henry was said he... Okay, thanks, Henry.
No, go ahead.
First off, let the record reflect that I've submitted additional objections for you to review. I ask that you look at those. A variance is intended as a relief valve when the land itself would otherwise be unusable, not the improvements on that land. The hardship must be upon the property and not a financial hardship upon the property owner. Both the city charter and the municipal code state that a variance shall not be used to grant a special privilege and that self-imposed burdens cannot legally justify the granting of a variance. In order for a landowner to be entitled to a hardship variance, the hardship must originate from circumstances beyond the control of the landowner and be of a type that does not generally affect other properties in the district. If the landowner can control the circumstances causing the hardship, then the granting of a variance is improper. No undue hardship is shown where the landowner could accomplish the same objective without a variance by changing his or her plan so that they conform to the existing zoning requirements. In this case, the hardship is entirely self-imposed. In 2005, the property owner requested and received City Council approval for a zone and height district change for the subject site from the C4 zone to the RES3 zone in order to permit a mixed-use project that tripled the allowable FAR and permitted a 50-foot building height. As stated by the City Planning Commission regarding the request, the C4 zone's FAR restrictions, quote, would make it infeasible to build the number of units permitted by the RES zone, unquote. Consequently, a project 3 times what would otherwise been allowed in the C4 zone was approved for the site. In 2006, the applicant then received a tentative track approval for 36 units. In 2013, planning staff approved a modification to increase density to 49 units. The Director of Planning then issued a clarification allowing a redesign that eliminated key architectural elements that had been requested by the community, and the applicant further received the opportunity to share retail parking with residential parking. In other words, in each instance, the city has issued generous entitlements to benefit the property owner in a manner inconsistent with the area's zoning. Now the property owner has sought and received 2 variances to extract additional value from the site. The purpose of a variance is to make a property equal to the surrounding properties and not to grant special privileges or permitted use that is inconsistent with other nearby properties. In this case, the surrounding properties under the C4 classification prohibit a gymnasium. The RES3 zone also prohibits a gymnasium and restricts signage to 20 square feet per tenant. The applicant changed the zoning to RES3 in order to triple the size of his project and now claims hardship for being restricted to the very zoning rules that he sought and received. He now seeks a variance as a backdoor mechanism to avoid another zone change. The zoning administrator has approved a gymnasium with exercise equipment. Yet in April of 2017, Chief ZA Charlie Roush issued an interpretation that citywide policy would continue to restrict gyms to the C2 zone while defining fitness studio as, quote, yoga, pilates, and other activities not involving exercise equipment, unquote. For activities using such equipment, Chief ZA stated, those fitness-related uses that utilize equipment and machinery shall be correlated to a gymnasium or health club and shall remain in the C2 zone only. This edict was ignored by the zoning administrator in the case of 928 Northwestern and said the ZA approved a gymnasium with, quote, typical exercise equipment, locker rooms, and an employee office and kitchen area operating from 5 a.m. to midnight. The zoning administrator also imposed noise mitigation measures even though the case was filed as categorically exempt from CEQA. The Commission acknowledged on the record that noise impacts would occur. The 2005 project did not analyze the gymnasium use for its environmental review since gyms are prohibited in the RES3 zone. The categorical exemption is improper and CEQA review is required, even though the fact is that Henry stated that it's under the conditions that still is a mitigation measure, and it was stated so at the Commission hearing. The city charter restricts the administrative authority of a zoning administrator to being quasi-judicial, not quasi-legislative. What has occurred in this case is that the ZA has assumed the role of this legislative body and set a precedent for allowing gyms in the RES3 zone. We ask that you overturn the approvals as illegal and send this back to planning as another zone change. To summarize, the site is under a Q qualifying condition of approval implemented by the City Council in 2005 as RES3, and that's the restriction on it. It prohibits gymnasiums. The applicant has shown no evidence that the project isn't viable without the variance. The RES3 zones permits a multiple of options for retail, including bakery shops, bookstores, schools, banks, barbershops, clothing stores, pharmacies, floor shops, cafes, groceries, and other uses that are neighborhood serving and would not in any way undermine the code. And if this is denied, again, another case of variances, we're just going to take it straight to court once again. We're getting tired of this and no adherence to the code restrictions. Thank you.
Mr. Kohanzad.
Mr. Chair, may I take the applicant's response?
You're the representative for the applicant?
I think I submitted a card.
Okay, you did. We'll
Yes. Okay, and Mr. Kahansa.
trade yours, his for yours.
Thank you. Members of the Plum Committee, my name is Ben Resnick with Jeffrey Mangels, Butler, and Mitchell. I'm here representing the applicant. I'm going to make it brief and quick. This case has gotten quite a bit of review, both by the Zoning Administrator and the Area Planning Commission, both of whom have denied these appeals. A few factual inaccuracies just being pointed out. It seems like the appellant has no issue with the use, because I've never heard once, neither in the documents nor today, that the use is inappropriate. Their beef has to do with procedure and process, and they seem to think that the ZA did not have the authority to do what he did, which was an issue they raised at the Area Planning Commission, which the Area Planning Commission denied. And additionally, the appellants are not local neighbors. They don't live in the area, immediate area. Yes, it's an individual from a neighborhood council and another individual. So that's what you have before you, is more somebody trying, I think, to adhere to some technicalities but misinterpreting them, because we believe that the zoning administrator's authority is clear, is laid out. And the other thing is that this word gymnasium, the city doesn't have a lot of definitions, but what you have before you actually is more of a fitness studio. This is not a gymnasium. This is a very small space. If you look at the size of the space, this is more local serving, neighborhood serving, training, fitness. You'll hear from the owner here in 1 second. And so what the zoning administrator did in his judgment, and what the Area Planning Commission did, is look at this and recognize we're not talking about a 24-hour fitness. We're not talking about a Gold's Gym. We're not talking about anything like that. And that's the difficulty with the code. You know, when you have one word that's like saying a little retailer is like a big box retailer. No, they're not. And same thing here. And so the end result is using the appropriate variance process to grant this use, which is appropriate for this building. Other than that, all the approvals over the years were not to gain, benefit to the applicant as much as it was to allow for a mixed-use project, to be able to build the housing units. And so with that, let me leave the remaining time for my client, Mr. Kohanzad.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Kohanzad on behalf of the ownership group. We finished this project about 4 to 5 years ago, mixed-use building. We immediately filled up the residential portion of the project. The retail has remained dormant for that duration of that time. We've hired the best in the industry to try to lease the retail area. Of course, that industry has changed quite a bit, and we were unsuccessful, in fact. And so the tenant who's here, who's going to speak as well, is a tenant of ours in another mixed-use building who now has this fitness center, same size about, and it's been a very huge success. So we were very excited to bring them over and actually offer the same service to this neighborhood. They occupy, and it was their first space, a West LA mixed-use site location. So it's an amazing location. They're very hands-on. It's two partners that came together, and one of them is there all the time. It's a very clean location, and it's affordable for the neighborhood, where, again, they don't have to go to the big box, and it provides the health fitness. So we think it's a great use, and we respectfully ask that you deny the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Mr. Matthew Hayden, Mr. Edward Hunt, and Amani Soyinka after Mr. Hunt.
I'm Edward Hunt. I'm here for the Melrose Hill Neighborhood Association, which is where this project is located. We believe the proper remedy is a zone change, not a variance. And we're still not hearing anything about a hardship. The applicant has clearly not satisfied the findings. We object very strongly to the 60 square feet of signage. versus 20 feet that's allowed by the code. That, to us, just seems grossly overscaled. The reality is it is a gym, and as far as being park poor, Lemon Grove Park is 3 blocks away. And the Hollywood Central Park, 38 acres, is about 3 blocks.
Thank you.
My name is Amani Shoinka, and I am one of the owners of the proposed gym. My partner and I have been in business for about 5 years, and what we've been able to create in West LA is a very intimate, private gym. We do one-on-one personal training, and we've been able to provide a service for the neighborhood. We provide small classes, semi-private, and we've seen a lot of benefit. People in the neighborhood walking to the facility, and we just ask that you would support this project and approve and deny the appellant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abrams.
Well, you can see that the applicants can't even keep
I'm sorry. Could you say your name, one, just for the record, and two, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right?
Yeah, George Abrahams.
Abrahams, thank you.
What we see is the applicant, they can't even keep their story straight. You have the tenant and you have the city saying it's a gym, but you have the owner and his representative saying it's a fitness center, and a fitness center isn't even defined in the city code. So what you're really asking to approve is a gym, and that means with equipment and noisy equipment, everything. You're getting a gym, and that's the problem here. And that's not allowed in the zone. And the problem is the categorical exemption says, well, you don't have any mitigation necessary for a gym, not just a little Zumba thing, all right, that maybe have no noise. All right, so you have the previous zone change, you had mitigation measures, and there's no adjustments for what can be allowed, not what they're claiming that they're going to install. And so Bob Blumenfeld also said, well, why is the cost of all these appeals so much? Well, it's because you're allowing this kind of junk to go through.
Thank you.
And
Your time has expired. Thank you so much. Your time has expired. If there are questions or comments from members of the committee, we'll hear them now. Seeing none, I'll move to deny the appeal. There's a second. I'll move to deny the appeal.
And Councilman,
yes, sir.
Also, you may wish to adopt a categorical exception and the CEQA findings and sustain the action of the Central APC.
So we'll sustain the action of the Central APC. The second item.
And to adopt the CEQA findings and the categorical exemption and the CEQA findings.
And to deny the appeal.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. That takes us to item number 10.
Item 10, Councilman, this is a report from City Attorney. It's a draft ordinance rescinding a previous ordinance adopted by the council, the hybrid industrial live-work zone. Item 9 gives you the option to go into closed session if you choose to.
So there are no speaker cards on this matter. If there's no questions or comments from members, we'll take this item on consent.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There is a question from Mr. Blumenfeld, so we'll ask staff to come forward. And the floor is yours, Mr. Blumenfeld.
Great. So I didn't quite understand this one in terms of why we have to. Why do we need a categorical exemption for something that's just an idea? Like, do we do change zones, R1 all the time? We change overlays. I don't quite get it. And then, but of course we lost, so there must be some reason. But looking through the documents, I don't see any good reason.
Thank you for that. Craig Weber, City Planning Staff. So at any time that the city makes a code amendment, in the particular instance described to add a new zone, some sort of CEQA action is necessary, really dependent on what the code amendment would consist of. So by way of a separate example, various single-family zones were added to the code last year. Through that process, an initial study was completed and a negative declaration was completed, essentially saying, hey, we're adding these 16 zones. As we understand it, there would be no environmental impacts.
Doesn't the environment, I apologize for interrupting, but just sort of for clarifying, the environmental impact comes when you apply the zones. But when you create the zones, it's just a paper exercise. So why would that be anything other than a negative, if it's required, other than a negative?
Councilmember Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office, because the definition of a project under CEQA is a discretionary action and the adoption of a zoning ordinance is a discretionary action. So you have to comply with CEQA.
You have to comply with CEQA, but why would there be any environmental impact if it's just a paper exercise?
If I may, the questions that you are asking really touch on these are the essential questions that were asked as the hybrid industrial zone environmental analysis was conducted, and these really are the issues that were raised in the litigation. So it was the opinion of the city planning department through its analysis that there would be no environmental impacts, that we were just adopting a code amendment, and that any subsequent use of the zone would warrant its own CEQA, and therefore there was a forum to study and understand the actual potential environmental effects. The issues raised in the litigation were that the city could perhaps have some knowledge of potential environmental effects related to simply creating the code amendment, and in this case, the courts agreed with that general opinion at the risk of oversimplifying the litigation.
Okay, I mean, maybe it's too oversimplified. But then it also says that an appeal we may not be likely to win that. And maybe this is something we need to go into closed session for, but I want to understand why we would, what our probabilities would be of an appeal and why. If that's something that could be answered in open session, maybe it shouldn't be, I don't know.
Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. You may be looking at the closed session report. Is that what you're looking at? Because we can't do that in open session. But the fact of the matter is the time to appeal is long past. So that is not even an issue at this point. But we'd be happy to talk to you offline about that afterwards if you want.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just trying to, this whole thing just didn't make sense to me about why there's I understand technically why we have to always go with CEQA. I have no problem with that, but just how we end up with these environmental impacts on something that is just a proposal. And you're saying if we theoretically knew about impacts, but that would only be in the application of this kind of thing. So, maybe there's not, it's a report, it's just, still doesn't make fully sense to me, and maybe I'll have that discussion with the city attorney offline. But is there a different environmental standard for other new zones? Is it always, do we generally do negative declarations? Is this a very unusual thing that we would not?
It's something that we look at case by case. So for example, in the instance of the single-family zones that I described, we had several neighborhoods in mind for an initial rollout. So our analysis understood we're developing these zones, these are what they would accomplish, and these are the 16 neighborhoods where they would land. And then that analysis ultimately determined these are all single-family zones replacing other single-family zones. There would be no environmental effects. In the case of the hybrid industrial zone, it was a much more complex zone, but it was not wed to any particular geography. So the environmental analysis, the shape that took was different. It was through the form of a categorical exemption, where essentially the city really shared the sentiments that I'm hearing from you, which is that this is being added to the code and will be rolled out in the future with additional environmental analysis. So in short, the answer is it's case by case, and it just depends on what the circumstances are.
Did we think we would get sued in this particular case? Or we thought it...
There was indication through much of our process that litigation would be a possibility.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blumenfeld. Mr. Price, Mr. Englander? Excellent. Okay, we will accept this item. Where does that leave us?
So the action would be to approve the city attorney draft ordinance to repeal the.
Yes, on consent.
And that concludes the agenda, Councilman.
Excellent work. And there are no one general public comment card for Mr. Evan Moran, who I think gave up and left. We are adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Did we do the